Hello my little ribbons, welcome, Yana here with another video from the Junk Journal world, and today we are creating these beautiful ornate envelopes using magazines and pretty papers. I feel that the easiest way to go about a project like this one is to have a template that you can print, cut out and then use to create your envelopes. I've got these templates here. They are from my Etsy shop, and what they are is 4 different designs of the envelope flap. So I have created this ornate flap that has this really vintage feel to it, and I am going to cut one out to use for our project today. As I am cutting this template out, I am being extra careful not to cut the wider A4 paper too roughly, because I'm going to save the bit that is not a template, and I'll show you how I like using it later on. Going around the ornate flap of the envelope might be a little bit tricky, so if you feel that a big scissors like mine is not cutting it, pun intended, then feel free to grab a smaller pair of scissors. That will make the job a little bit easier perhaps. You can have more precision, but you'll need to spend more time on it, so it's always all about the balance. So I have finished cutting this one out, and because I originally printed it on thicker cardstock paper, I can save this and then it becomes a tool in your crafting kit. You can use it many times over for different projects, and I don't know if the camera is picking that up well enough, but it's got these lighter lines here that show you where to fold. Now when you go ahead and transfer this template onto another piece of paper, those lines will not show, but you can go ahead and add them in with a pencil, or perhaps just have in mind where it's logical to fold, and then do the same for your paper that you chose to create the envelope with. Now for this one, I'm going to go ahead and use one of the digital papers I designed. These are also up on my Etsy shop now. They are a combination between a pretty vintage floral wallpaper with a matching, or shall I say corresponding color palette strip, and with a little bit of strip added with a few sentiments and words that can be used to add to projects. So there are 4 sheets into this set, and I'm just going to go ahead and pick one to trace my template on top. Now alternatively, you could print your template directly onto patterned paper. So one of these designs, this one for example, it's got a much thicker border around the flap. That's because if you go ahead and print it onto patterned paper directly, it will still be visible enough for you to know where to cut, even if the pattern is busier or a darker page. So I could have done that perhaps, but let's take the conventional route here and just trace on top. Now I don't know which one I want to start with. If I start out with this one, okay, let's do this. So for this one, I've got a piece of paper here. I've got my template which I have traced, which I have cut out and I can now use to trace. But if you put it directly onto your paper, then the template covers a lot of the design, so you can't picture with 100% accuracy where this template is going. So for that, I have a little tip for you. If you saved the cutout of your original paper where you printed the template, you could use that as a sort of a window to show you if, let's say for example, I decided to place my template here and cut out this bit of the paper, what piece of paper will I be left with? So I can move this around and play a little bit and see what portion of this paper I want to have on my envelope. Now another thing to consider is that we have got different sections here, so the pattern paper could quite neatly play the role of the flap. So let's say if I traced this way, this could be the flap, and the flap would fold over, not like that, but because we are going to turn this paper around and fold so that we can see the colorful bits, the flap will come over this bottom part here. So this is going to be one side of the envelope, and this is going to be the other side of the envelope. It looks really pretty with these vintage florals here, but this is something to have in mind when you make up your mind where to cut. So I'm thinking for this one, I could go ahead and so if we keep this as the flap, then the flap would come over this bit here, which will fold over to the other side of the envelope, and I think that would look quite nice. I could go ahead and decorate this part, which hasn't got too much pattern going on it, but the other side of the envelope will have this really beautiful illustration. So let me keep this arrangement, and what I'll do is I'll simply almost like reassemble my original print of the envelope, like so. I would press down gently and take the cutout out and put it away. So now I am left with this template positioned where I need it to be. Now I could have turned the page on the other side and drawn my outline onto the blank side. I don't want to do that though. I still want to be able to see where on the design the outline is falling. So let me quickly go ahead and trace it with a pencil. I'm still tracing quite gently because the pattern is not too dark, so that I can still clearly see what the pencil outline looks onto the page. I think you might not be able to see that clearly on the camera, so for the camera I could have gone ahead and grabbed felt tip, for example, but then if I did that I wouldn't be able to use the cutout once again because it would have a really distinct black line. So forgive me, I'm trying to be practical here as well and not waste any of this beautiful paper, because look at this. If we lift the template, look how much gorgeous paper falls outside of it. Really, why waste that? So let me now go ahead and cut this bit out and see what we are left with. Because I used a gentle pencil to trace along my template, I can easily go back in with a rubber and erase any portions that are visible on the design. I'm trying to be really gentle here, really careful to get all the curves right, because that is what gives this ornate envelope a very special twist, I feel. So patience is everything with this one, I feel. So there we have it. This is the template cut out, and I am saving all of this. Like, I can see how I can use these little strips and scraps. Look at this beautiful strip. Why waste it? No way I'm going to waste that. That one is going on a layout in my junk journal, I can tell you that much. So let's just quickly see if there's pencil marks anywhere that needs rubbing out, and I'm only seeing a few pencil marks, just a few spots. I'll quickly clean that up because it's easier to make corrections at this stage, especially before we've got any glue going on yet. So yeah, now for the folding part. You will need to turn around your template and forward inwards, but the issue with this is you have no guideline here, so it is perhaps easier to fold it gently, just gently, so that we can see where the folding guide is, and then we can flip the page around and do it on the other way. Now this is such a neat coincidence here. My place where I need to fold the flap over aligns with the strip that says today 1896 and tomorrow. So I'm going to use that as a guide and very gently just pinch the paper where it needs to be folded, and I'm going to use my bone folder to press it down. I don't always get this part right the first time, but that is completely fine because it's just paper and we can manipulate it easy, so that's all right. We've got this fold, and that fold, it will look like this actually, but let's see what the rest of the envelope is looking like. I've got from this bit here to this bit here. This bit sounding a little bit vague, but I feel if you feel a little bit lost where to fold, you could always consult your original template, and that has got those lighter lines on there to guide you. But also this part here, it's not so important, because so long as you have a portion folded over so that you can apply your glue on top, that is more than enough. It could be thinner, it doesn't need to be as thick. So yeah, let's see how this is. Yeah, so this is coming over here, and that is the base of the envelope. It is looking so pretty. It's very important when you glue not to put glue all the way here or all the way here, because these two bits, they don't match all the way up. You can see when you close it, we've got a little portion where they overlap, so this is the only portion that you need to apply glue on. But the tricky bit is that this portion is on the inside. So what I'm going to do is just very gently apply a few dots or a few dollops even. Yeah, that makes sense. So I'm going to do this on the other end as well. Really thin one. A thin layer. And then all you need to do is press that down. And that's the envelope sealed. No, well, not sealed, but completed for you. So with this one, I could even leave it as is. Look at this. The front portion is beautiful patterned paper. Then you have the this lovely white design on the front, which doesn't clash with anything else. And then on the back is this absolutely gorgeous vintage floral. I could really leave it like that and I will be happy with it. But let me go ahead now and do a few more of them with the different designs and come back and see how we can decorate them. What else can we do in order to add more character and to match the aesthetics of our junk journals. So before we jump into decorating, let me just show you how you could use the same technique using magazine pages. So I've got a few pages here, and as you can see they are full print on one sheet, and I'm going to use that to my advantage because I don't need to plan out much around the decoration and the layout because they are already there for me. Now I need to say actually that these are not magazine pages. These were taken out of a gardening book, and that is because I am at least trying to not buy new paper-based products, so things like books and magazines I like to find in thrift shops and charity shops, and if I can't, then I don't use them at all. I know this might sound a bit weird to some of you might not even get it, but I feel that I don't miss magazines as much as I thought I would, and I just had to tell you why I am doing this magazine projects without magazines. So I've got these full size prints here, and for example something like this one, it is quite easy because any way you bend it, it doesn't matter so much what's the bottom side and what's the top side, it's always going to match because it's this one continuous print all over. But something like this one, for example, you need to be a little bit more mindful of what goes where, because when you flip them and fold them, some of the image will actually be upside down, so you need to make sure you love what you see. For example, this one, this image, if I turn upside down and have this be my bigger flap here that will fold over, and have this be the ornate envelope flap, I would end up with something like that. Yeah, so this is looking good to me, and I feel it might work if I went ahead and did this kind of envelope. And of course then you can decorate the front, the back, add other elements to make it feel more like a cohesive design and not so much a bit of print stacked on top of each other. But let's see what to do about this one. Now, because the print in areas is quite dark, I'm actually going to go ahead, flip it over and trace on this side. So here we are. This template, because it is so dark and the pattern is so busy, it might be difficult to figure out where to fold on this side. So I'm just going to trust the process here and go ahead and fold where it feels natural. And if I get it wrong, I'll just go ahead and add another crease. That's fine. It's fine by me. And then we've got the last flap. And this is what the envelope looks like. To decorate my envelopes further, I'm going to pull out my favorite thing, which is my pile of scraps. I've got some scraps I think will go great with the design on the patterned papers, and also will work with the busy pattern on the magazine's paper. So I've got some pianola roll here, some music sheet in different cream colors, and other bits and pieces, an old map. I think I might be able to use those and match them well. But don't forget the scraps from your cutouts actually. If you used magazines, if you used pretty pattern paper, you could use those scraps to decorate the envelopes further. Another thing I have in mind is I've got a bit of stamps here, a few stamps. They might go well on an envelope, and of course some fabric strips as well. So I've got different fabric strips here, some lace and some ribbon that I might want to use on top of my envelopes, and of course some washi tape. You know, I love using washi tape. And let's see what we come up with here, and I'll be back in a moment to share with you how the envelopes are looking all completed. But also I want to share with you an idea on how to close them down and keep the flap flat. I'm back with the finished envelopes. Before I go ahead and show you how they came out, can I just ask a quick favor? If you have enjoyed this video so far, if you find it helpful, can you click the like button? That will help it get to more people. It helps me out a lot and I'd really appreciate that. Thank you. So here are the envelopes, and let me just show you the first one. We have got this beautiful ornate flap that we created using template, and then I've got just a tiny little collage here at the bottom. From when I folded my paper on, there was an awkward strip of green down here that I wanted to cover, so I've got a little bit of music sheet, some pianola paper, and a beautiful message from a book. I stole it from a book. It says "Sooner isn't better," and I really love that message. On the back I have kept it plain because I feel it is just fantastic for journaling directly on top. The other one, oh, actually I forgot to mention my approach. I did something to the previous envelope and I've got it here. You can see this black outline along the ornate flap. I thought there wasn't enough contrast to show this beautiful trim here, so I added a line with a plain fine liner, and I feel that gives it a little bit more contrast. I really love the combination between the smaller pattern and the bigger vintage floral wallpaper, so I didn't do anything else to that. But on the back I have created this little tuck spot, so I've got a piece of map which magically is matching my color scheme. I just love when something like that happens. I've got a strip of music paper and this beautiful ribbon, which I only glued a little bit of it so that the flaps will be kind of loose and add all this texture. So I could use this tuck spot to tuck a tag, a journaling card. It doesn't matter so long as it's looking this pretty. Alright, so this one is one of the magazines one, or book page in my case. I really love how these roses, or flowers rather, are looking at the top here, but it was getting a little bit too busy with the other patterns and flowers on the bottom here, so I added a big sheet of music sheet all the way up to the top, and then a little bit of washi tape to fill in an awkward blank space I had here. And I really love it how when I open, I've got this writing here, then the music sheet and the washi. This is a pretty little collage to me in itself. But when you flip over, I have used my scraps from when I was cutting out some of the ornate envelopes, and I just glued it on the side to create a little pocket, and I can add a journaling card on there. I've popped a little stamp on there as well. It feels a little bit like pink overload, but I really love how this came out, and I love how the colors on the original print show behind the journaling card. So this one I really love actually. I've got my other one here from the magazine's /gardening book, and this one had this beautiful all over pattern which I absolutely love, and you can see to the point that I didn't want to cover it at all, but I did a little something to the front. I had this piece of pretty yellow cotton lace, and I felt it would nicely accentuate the curve onto the ornate flap, so I added a strip there, and I feel I could also use that to close this envelope with a little tiny bending of the top part of the flap, and you're left with this beautiful parcel. It's just so pretty. I love that. And then for my last one, I was being lazy perhaps, but I didn't really do much to it besides adding this little border here. I absolutely love the back and how it came out, and I just couldn't bring myself to add anything to it, because this side here I could use to journal directly. This side here is already as pretty as it can get, and the flap is a lovely contrast. So something like this, let me just grab my journal really quickly here. So something like this, I could either tip into my journal with a bit of washi tape, for example, and it would be a standalone envelope in there, or an idea, I haven't done it yet, but I came up with the idea and I can't wait. And if you do try this one, let me know how you got on. So if you take a page and put the flap over, just like so, and if you glue only this side, the ornate flap will turn into a tuck spot or a pocket, and then when you flip this over, you still have got the beautiful illustration on this other end, but that also flips open, and you still have got the pocket here and some journaling space on top. So I really love how this one came out, and I'm not doing anything more to the design, simply because I feel it works. It just works. So before I let you go, and hopefully you've got a little bit more patience to stay with me, just to show you an option what you could do in order to keep these closed. And I am repurposing a household item for this one, and let me just find it, because oh there it is, it was under my journal. I don't know if you know these are command strips They are known as command strips, and they are used to hang pictures on walls without damaging the walls from drilling. So what they are, it very much resembles a Velcro. It's got these little hooks, and the idea is that you attach one to the wall, you attach one to your picture frame, then you press them together and they kind of stick to each other without glue. They hook onto each other. I've tried them for picture frames. They work absolutely fantastic. But I had the idea, if I take a little strip off this, and then if I take another one like so, come back, and if I glued this to the envelope and then the other side to the flap, that would give me a Velcro type closing system. So let me see if that works. Now the trick with this is glue one side only first. They've got adhesive on them already and it's quite durable. So just finding a good spot to place this somewhere here. Yeah, that should be good. And then instead of gluing the other end to the flap that will come over it, just remove the strip that protects the glue, or probably the other way around, then press it down and they hook onto each other, and then you press your flap that you want to keep closed. So this is what it would look like. It's a little pouch closed now, and I'll just let this glue do its magic for a little bit longer, and we'll try it together to see whether it works. So let's see. Yeah, there you go. It opens and closes like a dream. So thank you so very much for watching this one, especially if you have been watching till the end. I really appreciate you being here. Having somebody to share with is the best, and I'll catch you in my next one.